One of the most common themes that is often seen throughout Diablo Cody screenplays is the complexities of teenage female friendships. In Jennifer's Body, Needy, who was the protagonist of the film, not only idolized her best friend Jennifer, but she also was very much in love with her. Jennifer also added to this dysfunction as well because she was always constantly trying to little girl Needy while also being extremely possessive. Let's just say they had a very unhealthy, codependent relationship. In Juno, which was Cody's breakout script that won her an Oscar for Best Screenplay, the titular character is best friends with a cheerleader named Leah. For the most part, they do have a healthy friendship. But because Juno is the typical not like other girls character, she belittles girls similar to her friend by claiming that guys pretend to like girls who are the cheerleader type. She then goes on to say that all guys secretly want girls like her. Okay, Juno. This dynamic of the pretty popular girl being friends with a regular or edgy weird girl has repeatedly shown up in Cody's stories. But what I think is most interesting is that her least popular and most recent film actually has the best representation of this specific dynamic. Of course, the film I'm talking about is Lisa Frakenstein. Being named after the computer-made woman from the John Hughes cult classic Weird Science, Lisa Frakenstein follows a high school senior who's struggling to accept her new normal after her mother is brutally unalive. Months after she witnesses this, her emotionally absent father remarries a spiteful woman named Janet, who also has a daughter named Taffy. Similar to the archetype that I mentioned earlier, her new stepsister Taffy is supposed to be the typical cheerleader, a little bit clueless but often well-intentioned. To me, she's very similar to Cher. When we're first introduced to Taffy, Lisa is getting ready for a party when she says,
"I don't think that blush is your shade, Lisa."
This first impression quickly paints a picture of who we assume she is. Just a mean stepsister who is rude to Lisa. On the surface, the movie continued to reiterate the narrative that Taffy is the antagonist to Lisa along with her mother Janet. When they arrive at the party, Taffy retells Lisa's traumatic story about her mother's death to multiple people, which of course is the last thing Lisa wants. For all of her classmates to know how her mother was unalived. For the rest of the film, Taffy would make snide remarks about Lisa not having friends, calling her a girl in need, and saying Lisa lacks congeniality. All of these examples and even more reiterate this archetype that she's supposed to fulfill, the mean and ditzy cheerleader. Her worst offense happens towards the end of the film when it's revealed that she slept with Lisa's crush, Michael. From the beginning, Lisa was constantly telling Taffy how much she liked him, and initially, Taffy had no idea who he was. But when she talks to him for the first time at the party, they hit it off and start dating in secret. Now I know I just listed moments that would make any character seem terrible, but with Taffy, it's a lot more nuanced. If we go back to their opening scene in the bathroom, the only reason she pushes Lisa to go to the party with her is because Lisa's psychiatrist thought it would be good for her to socialize. During the party scene, the only reason she spoke to Michael in the first place was to defend Lisa after Michael's friend Tamara gives her PCP. Before the creature shows up at her doorstep, Taffy is the only person constantly defending her. Even when she had to go against her own mom, Taffy kept that same energy. When Janet yelled at Lisa for breaking the mirror, Taffy defended her.
Be nice.
When Janet said that Lisa's job as a seamstress was easy compared to cheerleading, Taffy spoke up.
I'm sure Lisa's fingers hurt from all that sewing.
She even verbalized exactly what her mother was.
Yeah, she's a...
This happens again and again, and the story makes it very clear that Taffy has a lot of love for Lisa. She wants them to be close. Even when she criticizes Lisa's blush at the beginning, we soon see that she talks to everybody like that.
You fixed your bangs. Well, I wasn't gonna say anything. They were such a mess, but you look amazing now.
So it's not a personal vendetta. When Lisa would borrow and wear Taffy's clothes, she would tell her how great she looked and that sisters always share. When she thought Lisa was in a better mood, she was so joyous because they were starting to feel like a family. She even almost cries. When Taffy is upset about her mother being missing, she brutally says,
"You don't have to worry about anything because your mom's already been murdered."
When she notices how harsh her words were, she immediately apologizes. And even when she wasn't in the best mood due to her mother being missing, she apologized again for being a Debbie Downer.
Sorry, Lisa, I don't mean to be rude.
At the very end, when she visits Lisa's grave, despite everything Lisa had done to her, she still wears the rosary beads she gave her. Now, I do want to state that her sleeping with Michael was a terrible thing to do, but the story made it very apparent that them getting together wasn't intentional. Throughout the film, Janet always made a point to highlight how pretty Taffy was and how accomplished she was as a cheerleader and a beauty pageant queen. She would often praise her for accomplishing things like landing her first standing back tuck and being able to do a split at the top of the pyramid. Of course, there is nothing wrong with her mom commending her for accomplishing these things, but the problem is she only praised her for her physical abilities. When Lisa catches Taffy and Michael in bed, Taffy immediately apologizes and explains that they genuinely like each other and that Michael sees her as more than just a cheerleader. This shows just how insecure she is and how Michael makes her feel more confident about the other qualities she possesses. Before they could even carry on with this discussion though, the creature comes in and unalives Michael. I do believe that if they had a chance to discuss everything, they could have moved past it. Making Taffy one of the only characters to defend Lisa subverted the archetype of the shallow and mean cheerleader and made her one of the most caring characters in the film. This flipped Cody's typical archetype and made the characters feel more layered than the previous ones. In Jennifer's body, Jennifer was possessive, insecure, and always needed to be the center of attention. In Juno, Leah was supportive, but she was also shallow and ditzy. We never saw anything past these traits, and the film never dug deeper to show us that Leah was more than just a stereotypical cheerleader. Making Taffy aspire to be a good friend and stepsister counteracted Jennifer's character, who could care less about being a good friend to Needy. I mean, she unalived her boyfriend. Showing that Taffy wanted to be taken more seriously compared to Leah showed that there's more depth to a person than just being a popular and old man obsessed cheerleader. When it comes to the other side of this distinctive Cody character dynamic, the most subverted stereotype in the film was actually Lisa and the not like other girls archetype. One of my pet peeves about the film Juno was, for one, the dialogue.
Honest blog?
This is one doodle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
I mean, come on. But it was mainly the essence of Juno. Juno was supposed to represent the unique character who doesn't fit into the stereotypical mold of a teenage girl. She likes guitars, The Runaways, and Patti Smith. Her favorite director is Dario Argento, shout out to the DP and gaffer for Suspiria, and she's just so ... different. This stereotype has been criticized a lot within the last few years, but I think the best example of satirizing this stereotype happens with Lisa. From the beginning, Lisa's taste was shown to be unique compared to the people around her. When she claims that Taffy's more mainstream music was for beer sluts, she countered this statement by claiming that people like her who listen to The Cure have feelings. Lisa's not like other girls attitude shows up in other ways as well, especially when it relates to Taffy. She constantly criticizes her for her clothes by calling them skeezy behind her back, but later on she would turn around and benefit from those exact outfits that she criticized. When the creature suggests that she wears one of Taffy's dresses, she does so, and this is when Michael approaches her at school. In the second instance, when she wears another one of Taffy's outfits, she's shown to be her most confident self for the first time. To add on another layer, soon after judging the music that Taffy likes or the clothes she wears, Lisa would repeat the advice that Taffy gave her.
Taffy says that you have to show guys you love them instead of telling them. Taffy says it's a waste of time to try and fix up ways. Better just accept a guy's flaws.
This repetitive cycle of Lisa criticizing Taffy just to turn around and utilize her clothes or what she says changes the dynamic of the typical archetype that we usually see in this type of relationship. Lisa is the more critical and unlikable character compared to Taffy because Taffy never intentionally meant to hurt Lisa. When Taffy recognizes that she has hurt Lisa on numerous occasions, she apologizes each time. Lisa, on the other hand, judges Taffy constantly for being basic and only realizes her mistake at the end after unaliving Taffy's mother and boyfriend. The most prominent scene that pokes fun at Lisa and satirizes the not like other girls trope happens when Lisa starts ranting about liking cool things. She says,
You like cool movies and music and stuff, but only for you.
Because she thought he was cerebral and that they were both into the same quote-unquote cool things, she boldly assumed that the only reason he would ever be with someone like Taffy was because Michael couldn't handle her coolness. When he responds to her rant with,
You can't blame her, kiddo. It just was never gonna work out between us. I don't have feelings for you like that.
and
You're not making any sense.
her arrogant belief crumbles and she instantly looks foolish. Just because you listen to The Cure and girls like Taffy listen to Wham doesn't mean the cool guy is gonna like you more. Michael's even overheard explaining that he really wants them to be together and he likes her because she's cute and sweet. He loves that they're the polar opposite from each other, and there is nothing wrong with that. In Jennifer's Body, Needy was shown to be worried about looking cool for the concert because she knew that if she didn't dress up to par, Jennifer would say something. With this example, they fit into the archetype of the popular girl criticizing the normal one. Good versus bad, nice versus mean. In Juno, Leah was the one to be criticized for being basic, while Juno took the place as the cool hip girl. This specific depiction once again feels very unbalanced, just like in Jennifer's Body. Leah is ditzy while Juno is cultured. With these depictions, it feels like despite the settings, circumstances, and existing dynamics, the message is still the same. The typical or alternative girl is superior to the popular girly girl. The popular girl is shallow and or mean, while the other girl is the character you want to root for. In Lisa Frakenstein, they do fit into these archetypes on the surface, but by the end, you actually root for Taffy and sympathize with her instead of Lisa. Because Lisa's entire journey centers around the loss of her mother, you initially understand why she is the way she is. She hangs around in cemeteries because she's obsessed with death and even romanticizes it. She tells the creature that she wishes she was in the ground, dead and buried alongside with him.
I wish I was with you.
And when she dumps Janet's body in the grave, she asks him,
Is it peaceful down there?
We repeatedly see that she's severely depressed. I mean, look at the drawings on her wall. She's also extremely isolated because in the rare moments when she decides to express herself, no one seems to understand. Her father acts like he isn't a recent widower. Her stepmom is constantly looking for the tiniest bit of reason to send her to a psych hospital, and Taffy is often dense when it comes to these type of conversations. So in moments where Lisa says,
I just don't think anyone should be forgotten.
when talking about the people in the cemetery, the obvious signs that she's referencing her mother goes right over Taffy's head. She has no one to talk to, and this makes her the character you initially sympathize for. When the creature shows up, this is the first time she can fully express herself. And during their first conversation, she's shocked because this is the most she's talked to anyone since her mother's death.
I haven't said this many words in a row in forever.
Because we briefly saw the creature's past in the opening credits, and he was shown to be a man in love who got jilted, he instantly goes into protection mode over Lisa. Of course, their connection is going to create such a healthy relationship, and soon after meeting, they become Jason and Veronica 2.0. After Janet brings up her mother's death, blames Lisa for pretty much everything, and threatens to send her to the loony bin, her words, not mine, the creature has no choice but to unalive her. Because Janet never even tried to listen to Lisa, they take her ear and sew it into the creature. While talking about her mom at the party earlier in the film, her classmate Doug touches her inappropriately. In retaliation, they take his hand and give it to the creature so that he never touches anyone else like that again. When she catches Taffy and Michael in bed, they take his member and sew it onto the creature because from Lisa's perspective, he hurt her too. In all these moments, Lisa took these various body parts because in her own fucked up way, she's taken her power back. As they continue to unalive one person after the other, we see that she increasingly stops being fazed by it and eventually starts enjoying it. This is until the creature almost unalives Taffy. When Taffy is sitting in the car after witnessing Michael get axed, Lisa thanks Taffy for being the only person who treated her kindly. She then goes on to say that she appreciates how Taffy went out of her way to make her feel welcomed and that she only wrote her off because of her horrible mother.
I'm sorry. I love you.
This specific scene towards the end of the film places Taffy in the exact same position Lisa was at the beginning. A girl who not only just lost her mother, but also someone who just witnessed a person they cared for being unalived. To add on another layer with this scene, Taffy is silent from shock, similar to Lisa becoming mute after witnessing the events with her mother. In the end, Lisa does get her wish and she finally gets to be with the creature, but that's only after unaliving 3 to 5 people and leaving behind an emotionally and mentally scarred Taffy. In a dark way, Lisa healed from her trauma and accepted death, but at what cost? Blurring the lines on who was good or bad or right or wrong, and subverting the usual stereotypes associated with these tropes, elevated Cody's usual dynamic and made the characters feel multidimensional. Lisa was funny, independent, and she knew how to sew pretty well. but she was also running around town, smiling while her man was unaliving numerous people and rolling her eyes at Taffy while she was crying over her mother. Taffy was dense, often harsh with her words, and dated Michael behind Lisa's back, but she was also generous, understanding, and very forgiving. By the end, Lisa wasn't simply seen as the cool and grieving misunderstood girl. She actually became somewhat the villain. And Taffy, the character who we assumed would be the evil stepsister, turned out to be the kindest character by the end who you actively root for. I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't seen Lisa Frakenstein, please check it out because it is a fun film. The dreamlike setting is similar to Edward Scissorhands, the comedy reminds me of Scream Queens, and the plot is very comparable to Heathers. So if you like any of these films or shows, definitely check out Lisa Frakenstein. Alright, bye!